This is Wendy Montroy, and you're listening to Turtle Tea with TTPG. We're bringing you bite-sized turtle and tortoise species, care, and husbandry info. This show is brought to you by the Turtle and Tortoise Preservation Group, whose mission is to ensure the survival of the world's turtles and tortoises through captive breeding. Hey everyone, today we're talking to Raul Gonzalez about fly river turtles, also known as pig-nosed turtles. And you're going to have to help me with the species because just looking at it, I know I'm going to screw it up.
I've heard it pronounced as Carettochelys insculpta.
Okay, Carettochelys. I mean, that's what it looks like. So
yeah. Don't feel bad because I'll probably botch it. Or I'm botching it right now, so don't feel bad.
Well, if we're both screwing it up, then yeah,
we're good.
Right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell me a little bit how you got started with this species?
So, thank you for having me. First of all, Wendy, I appreciate it. So, fly river turtles is that I guess to most or all, it's like a holy grail turtle, right? Holy grail, excuse me. It's just that the sea turtle that you can legally own, even though it's not a sea turtle. They have flippers. And as a kid, I used to get on kinksnake.com, which was the classified ads, go to the aquatic turtle section, go to the forums in there. And I used to just Google or Yahoo or AOL search whatever turtle species I could read about that seemed interesting or that I found on a book. And fly rivers was one of those turtles that you read about but never heard about them being obtainable. If there was any mention of pricing or availability, it was always rare, high dollar demand. And it just took getting older and having some monies and having more being involved more in the reptile community where an animal came available. We got, I purchased it, and that was the first animal or the first fly river I kept, and it was just, they're inspiring in the sense they're just so relaxing to watch swim in an aquarium. It's like a fish. I mean, like you just watch them. It's mesmerizing, I guess is the word.
Yeah. So how long ago did you get your first one?
Probably 2000, 2008, 2000. Yeah, I think 2008.
So you've had them for quite a while.
Been a minute, yeah. Now, the original animal I don't have now.
Okay.
Of course, at the time, going through different things, life, relationships, setups and so forth. I sold the original animal. Throughout time I acquired more. And then as of recently, now that we had moved to Florida back about 8 years ago and got really serious in keeping things outside and really into, trying to breed things, I've acquired a group over the past 5 years. And now we're at 12 animals.
Okay. And they're all outside, right?
Yes, I have. So when we bought this house in Florida, the end goal was no animals in the house, even though we still have animals in the house. It was
always
kind of
starts
keep
that way,
everybody
right?
outside. Yeah. The goal, no reptiles in the house or have a separate building. That's the end goal, is to have a separate building where I can keep hatchlings and keep kind of the projects that can be outdoors. But yeah, when we moved here, we had some acreage, and the end goal was to have animals outdoors all year as much as we can, and basically make it easier somewhat on us to keep them, right? Because having a 20, 30 light bulbs on during, the day out in the house, light bill goes up like crazy. Buying light bulbs all the time to replace them, it's why do all that when we have the sun outside? It gets pretty freaking hot.
Yeah, and in the summer, when I have juveniles inside, I've got 8 heat lights running, and it's 80 degrees in the house. It's like as cool as you can get it.
Exactly. So the end goal was to keep everybody outdoors and do it like most of these turtle breeders do it out here, is, almost everything's outside.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick look at their natural history. They're just such a unique species. They're almost completely aquatic, right? They're not on land much.
Only animals I've seen, well, the only animal I could think would come out of land is a female to lay eggs, or maybe
Just
a
like a
male
sea
that's
turtle.
getting beat up. Yep, or a male that's getting beat up by a bunch of other animals, and he needs to get away and find another body of water to to get into, right? But they don't bask out of the water. They don't crawl out to explore. None of that. They stay in the water 99% of the time.
Okay. And they're native to northern Australia and southern New Guinea, living in freshwater streams and rivers. They're omnivorous, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but I was reading that they mostly kind of eat fruit and plants with a small amount of insects and crustaceans.
Maybe the juveniles do that, but the adults, they eat everything. They're gonna take,
Okay, so they're not
yeah,
picky.
fruits. These turtles, of course, the fruits is their favorite. Bananas, apples, pears, melons, watermelon, mango. I mean, the whole smorgasbord there of fruits, they'll go for it. They like squash, sweet potato, but shrimp, fish, beef heart, chicken gizzards. I mean, you can't go wrong. If they're not eating for you, maybe there's an issue.
Something's wrong.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's an acclimation issue, maybe it's a temperature issue, but they are not picky. Pelleted foods all day. Tortoise food, Missouri tortoise chow, croc chow, catfish, pond pellets, water hyacinth, whatever you got, they take it.
So it sounds like the wild populations are declining rapidly, and there was quite a bit of poaching going on. I know that they're farmed in Indonesia. Is that where most of like the, 5 to 6 inch ones that we get in the US are from?
I would like to believe, and I'm sure they are from Indonesia, from a farm or captive farmed. From my understanding, and of course, it's been a while, but I want to say the last legal imports, and I'm not sure if they were from New Guinea of fly rivers, were I think in the early 2000s, late 90s, and
Okay,
then
so it's been
the
a while.
recent surge, and then the recent animals that are coming in are being cleared, but I think they're coming from Indonesia, and they're being imported legally. There's no illegal fugazi or skewed paperwork. It's they've been cleared in the past 3 years or 4 years that they've been coming in. They've been cleared by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So
'Cause they have to come
Indonesia
in
can't.
with CITES paperwork, right?
hmm I think their site
Okay,
is one, if I recall. And yeah, I think they're farm raised. For so the rumor years ago when all these animals would be smuggled in, or the animals that would pop up on king snake or fauna or whatever, there was always the consensus that all these animals end up being male, right? And the idea was that wherever they're being farmed at, they're just collecting the eggs and just incubating them at one temp to
okay,
just hatch them. And nobody was thinking, hey, let's hatch few females, let's hatch a few as males. No, they were just like, let's put them at 85, whatever it is, and then all those animals will get smuggled into here, and all those animals that grew up, majority of the time are male. So
okay.
they just believe that they weren't, they were just being farm hatched or whatever in Indo, and that's how they came to be. That's why you see a lot of males. That's the gist, is that everybody or all the males that you see are because they were smuggled or temp sexed at whatever temperature they had, and
So
no
these
idea
guys
of
are
let's hatch females.
they're temperature, sex dependent, or do we know?
Yes, from my understanding.
Okay.
No, they are. There's a gentleman that I used to correspond with. It's been a while, but he breeds them. I don't. He lives in Australia. His name's Greg Miles, and he had a group of 3.3 that he was allowed to catch, and Australia gave him the permits to breed them, and he bred them, and he bred them so much or so often that he stopped breeding them because there was no market for them back in
Wow,
Australia.
that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, that he filled the niche for that, the need for them. So, and he's the one that if you go in a deep dive into online, you might find his posts. There's a bunch of photos of him swimming with them, the greenhouse he built for them, hatching, sex, yeah, the whole. It's cool. Like, I mean, that's the inspiration
Yeah.
that I took from him, talking to him, getting his little transcript that he did for a presentation, and basically trying to do my version of that.
Has anyone bred them in the US that you know of?
So private breeders that I'm aware of, no. I mean, if there's someone out there, I would love to pick their brain, see what happened, what came of it. From my understanding, there was the Bronx Zoo and maybe another zoo that found hatchlings in the exhibit or so forth. But documented that I know of here in the States, no. There was a gentleman recently, out of Indonesia that I have on my Facebook that a friend requested that he recorded the process of the female laying eggs. He recorded the process of the eggs hatching. And of course, we didn't really correspond, but it's nice to see someone else doing it.
Yeah.
Myself and I think there's 2 or 3 other guys out there that are also trying. We all have different setups, different ideas of what would work best, and, we're kind of somewhat in a unspoken race to be the first ones, right, to
A friendly
document that
race.
or yeah, yeah, I mean, if someone else does it, man, hats off to them, and I'll probably ask 100 questions, and, hopefully there's no gatekeeping, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the
You'd
notoriety
wanna
is just
share
to be for
information
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you'll always be the first person, right? If you got to be the one that hatches them and breeds them, well, you'll always be known as the guy that did it. So there's no need to hide or
to
keep your
keep
secrets
anyone
because I
out.
mean,
Yeah, because 'cause you're
yeah,
always
I mean,
first, right?
yeah, and they're always gonna be they're still being imported. I mean, I think it's crazy that all these animals are being imported because they're not the best turtle for somebody. They're cute right now at 4, 6 inches, and yeah, they're great when you have a 200, 300-gallon aquarium. But once they get 18 inches and you live in a house and you have an HOA, there's no what are you doing with that turtle? What are you gonna end up doing? You're
Yeah.
gonna give it away or so forth. But
I always think
yeah,
about that when you
yeah,
see them either in a pet store or at Daytona, and they're small and they're adorable and they would fit in a 75-gallon tank, but how long is it gonna be until they
they
are
grow fast. Yeah, they do. A 4-inch turtle can be 6, 7 inches within a year. Now I don't know
Oof,
why people say they grow slow. They don't. I mean, I fed mine every other day, and he grew like crazy. And yeah, once they get huge, then you're doing a disservice to the turtle in a 200-gallon aquarium. It being 14, 15 inches, and it could just only go, pace back and forth 3, 4 feet.
yeah.
I'm not saying that my 1,000-gallon stock tank is the ideal setups for the few animals that are singles that are individually kept in them, but the end goal is to have a big enough pond where I can maybe disperse or put all of them in there and let them all do their thing. And they're still going to interact with each other. They're still going to squabble somewhat, but they can get away. They can have their own space and feel a little bit more at home.
So as far as captive care goes, I think the biggest thing you have to keep in mind is just how large they get. They can get over 2 feet, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a big male, probably 35, 40 pounds. I think probably
Wow.
35. But when you pull, he doesn't look big when you see him. But if we were to do, I think we might have pulled him out when Anthony came down. But big animal, and it's just when they get that size, is what are you going to do with them? And what are 100+ people who have purchased them as of right now online going to do with them? They're going to end up at those fish rescues, zoos. I mean, I don't even buy them just because I know that
People will
somebody's going to
want
offer
you
me.
to
Yeah,
take them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying think about it. I mean, at the end of the day, they get big.
Yeah.
They're not for everybody. Same thing I tell people with Podocnemus. They're cool, they're beautiful as hatchlings, but when you get a turtle that's 2.5 feet long, or yeah, as an adult, what are you gonna do? They
There's
can't take the cold.
yeah, there's really not a lot of indoor aquariums that they would fit in long term, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then and most zoos and most places that got them don't want more, right? They're limited on how many they can take in. And yeah, it just becomes somewhat of a burden unless, I wish I had unlimited funds and I have a rescue and I have, ponds and ponds galore and give them all homes. But, I'm semi realistic about it. And I'm just like, I can't, like, unless it's an animal that works with what I have going on and I can use, I'm interested. Other than that, I don't want to take on more males or more extra animals that we're just questioning because I'm kind of tapped out basically.
Yeah. I have heard that
So,
they can be highly aggressive. Have you experienced that?
so I've seen it in aquariums where you house two and they just nip on each other, or one gets close and chases the other one. In the pond that we keep them in, I do notice it, but it's not persistent or it's not constant. They squabble because one gets in the other one's face, or one gets in front of the other one while it's eating, but it's a slight like get out of here. Like
So you think
the
it's
animals I
maybe
have.
space related? Like if they're in close
Yeah,
quarters, they're gonna. Okay.
I think so, and I believe it's possibly also a sex issue, like two males.
Hmm.
Because I have some animals in the pond that obviously have nicks and bite marks, and most of the ones that have the nicks and bite marks appear to be all the males. There is what I believe to be an adult female that has very little to no damage. I guess she's the princess in the pond. Um, but yeah, I think it's also with males just being boys is basically what I think it is. It's just
Yeah.
they roughhouse, they want the attention or whatever it is that they need or they do to as boys. It's just that's the way they are. But
And if they
it
can't
does
get away from
happen.
each other, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's more reasoning why you see that high aggressiveness in this pond. Unfortunately, it's not clear. It's not a scaped or filtered pond as much as I would love for it to be crystal clear. It's not. It's you could see through the water to some point, and then it gets murky. And I think that's what helps, right? Is that the turtles
Yeah.
about a foot in or a foot and a half, they can't see each other anymore, and they can get away. They can bury themselves in the mud. So I think that also helps. And then it's big enough that you really have to swim around a few times to bump into each other.
Okay. When do they reach maturity? So when are you gonna be able to figure out whether
Oh
you have a
god.
boy or a
That
girl?
one I don't know.
Okay.
That's been
Because
the $1,000,000
I
question because even the females look male,
okay, because I was
right?
reading
Like,
that, like, they're saying in the wild, it's 16 to 18 years, which seems like an insane amount of time.
yeah. So the male that I have in the pond came from, if I recall correctly, the largest male came from Magdalene Bay in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Magdalene, some hotel.
Mandalay
Yeah, they
Bay?
had an exhibit.
Yeah.
Mandalay Bay. There you go. And I think the female did too. And if I recall correctly, one of the animals is 30 plus years old.
Oh, wow.
The female I think is 20-ish. I might be off. And again, it's been a minute since I've talked to the original owner of them, but I've heard 10 years, right, of them to reach
Okay.
maturity or some sort of maturity. But yeah, like I said, it's hard to say that because majority of the animals end up being male, and a male could probably breed 4 years in
Right.
if he gets up to
Right.
size. And then the females, they're not common, and the few that are, I don't think anybody's reported any eggs to say, "Hey, in 8 years she laid eggs." So it might be true. I mean, there's an animal in there that's about 10, 12 years old, and she's not as big as the princess that we're calling the largest female. She's 14 inches, 16 inches, and then this female that's I've been told is an egg-laying female. Have video of her climbing out in this gentleman's setup to lay. She's about 18, almost 20 inches,
Oof.
and she's big, but she's not the biggest, but she's big. I was gonna say the only way that some of these larger animals I acquired through a gentleman that he was trying to breed them in Oklahoma, and he had a crazy setup, really cool. He had a warehouse. He had all this equipment for them. It was like a 40 by 80-foot pond. The gentleman had an amazing
Wow.
setup, but he was struggling to keep the water warm during the winters. When I went to pick up these turtles in March of last year, it was 20 degrees in his town when I went to pick him up at night. I drove from Florida all the way to Oklahoma to pick him up
Wow.
in person because he gave them to me, right?
Yeah,
Out of
yeah.
my passion for working with them and wanting and doing with working with them, he felt like he could trust me to take the reins from him. So out of to show my appreciation, I drove to meet him in
Yeah.
person, pick up the animals. Of course, that's the least I can do, right? It's instead of being like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what, ship them to me. Thanks. Bye. I went in person, met him, saw the setups, packed the animals. But the only way I believe I have an adult female is because when we brought them back, I set them up in stock tanks while the pond was being completed, and one of the stock tanks has housed the pair. This pond had nothing in it, just an empty pond, an empty stock tank, excuse me. Only the pair of fly rivers in there. There was no other turtle species in there with them, anything. And sometime in April, when I started getting around to finishing up the pond and moving some animals around, I found about what I believe to be maybe six. I found eggshells that I believe were about 6 eggs give or take, in the pond.
Oh,
So I believe she laid eggs in the water. They ate the eggs because obviously there was no land. There was nothing for them to come out, and I didn't have anything really set up for them to come out because it just they're different shaped, and their ability to climb out of the water is different than a snake neck turtle
right.
or a slider. So I didn't believe or I didn't think to put anything in them for to lay. But there was eggshells in the water, which I don't believe my kids would mess with me and crack
You
the
would hope
eggshells and
not.
dump them. Yeah, like no, that'd be crazy. So I like to believe that she laid eggs and that it is a female. The gentleman who had them has video footage of them coming out of the water, digging nest cavities. He even got a few eggs, but they didn't hatch. So I'm
Well, that's
hoping,
exciting. I mean,
yeah,
like,
I'm hoping
exciting
I
and
can,
horrifying at the same time.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I like to believe that there's at least one female in there. Now I haven't done any endoscopy type of stuff, work on them. I'd like to, but I also hear it's kind of a nightmare because they do have to do surgical cuts, insert the
Oh, so
camera,
they
and then
can't
the
just,
turtle
like,
has to be,
probe. Ugh.
yeah, yeah. So to have a water turtle that's really aquatic, have an incision on its,
Yeah,
that could
yeah.
infect and water. So
You worry
I've been
about
trying
infection
to,
and yeah.
yep, and I've been trying to talk to people that have kept them or people that I know what they're doing and ask them, like, how can we determine the sex? And there's different ways. I've been told that, we can basically hold the turtle and press in their flippers, their arms and back legs, and kind of like squeeze them in, and that will cause the males to invert
To avert, yeah.
invert their hemipenes and so forth. But that's a job in itself. It's myself, another party, somebody else helping me. We're all, somebody
You're picking up a
documenting what.
40-pound turtle and hugging it.
Yeah, I keep and trying to restrain it, right? Because they do scratch, even though they have flippers, they have
Yeah,
nails, and they scratch you up, and they're big animals. So it's a job in itself. And eventually, I'd like to really get down and confirm what's the actual sex, so I can be sure of what I need or what I need to do. Maybe I have too many males, maybe I have not enough males, or something. So.
yeah. So that was actually something I was gonna ask you. What's the range of your water temperature in the pond?
So back last year when we got the pond going, that was my biggest fear is to have a large body of water and not be able to maintain the temperature, right? Because some of these
Yeah,
people,
because you
like,
can't heat it, right?
correct, like you could try to heat it. I just don't know if the heating elements would suffice or if it would do anything. So there's people like Wayne Hill and Joel that they do these large ponds, but they do liners and they do greenhouses over them, right?
Okay.
I don't have the means. I don't have the means yet to do a greenhouse over the pond, but in my discussion with Joelle, if the water lettuce or the water plants grow dense enough, it's like a blanket, right?
Okay.
So this
Almost like
pond
a
is,
solar blanket? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So this pond is fed by the well. I have a well that runs 24/7, and it feeds this pond. The well I think comes out at 72, 74, maybe 72 is the lowest. And it also has, so it's being fed by the well, and I also have our tubs, not all of them, but our stock tanks. I have a side or a row of tubs that have all turtles from Australia, Indonesia, or New Guinea, and that row of tubs has overflows that are fed by the well, right? So each one is being fed individually by well water, and then it overflows into a drain, and that drain drains into the tub as well, into the pond as well. So
Okay.
there's two sources of water. There's a source of water coming from 4 tubs with all Indo-Asian turtle species that flow into the pond, and then the well water. So last year I put temperature sensors to kind of keep an eye out because I really was concerned that, hey, one of these super cold nights it's gonna be too cold, and then I've basically made an oath that if it got down to a temperature that I felt was crazy, I was gonna get in the water and pull them out. Excuse me, one by one. Yeah, I had a sometime
You had a
last year
plan?
in January. Yeah, I had to, so get everybody out one by one in the individual tub and put them in the garage where I keep some animals during the winter that obviously can't be outside all year or all winter. But yeah, the game plan was I'm gonna get in the water. I'm gonna go with my flashlights if it's at night and do get dirty and cold. We did have a scare where our well pump went out last year during the day, and that night it was going to get down to the 40s. And
Ooh,
the well pump obviously is feeding all other tubs with water. So imagine a
right.
hundred different turtles, 100 different turtles with nothing to keep them warm. There's some that no big deal. The 40s is no big
They
is
wouldn't
an
care.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all the South American stuff, all the tropical stuff, I'd have to get in there, drain the waters to they're empty, pull out all the turtles, forget the fish. There's fish I keep in each tubs just out of enjoyment, right? Some of them have cichlids, some
Yeah.
have guppies. I'd have to basically sacrifice them for the turtles, which like, at the end of the day, the turtles to me are kind of the more important things. I hate to say
Yeah.
that, but that was the contingency plan, right? Is to get in there, pull everybody out, keep them in the garage until I got the well going. Luckily, the well it wasn't an issue, and we got the well working again. But temperatures have fluctuated. So on the coldest night, and of course, this is what the sensor says based off where it was. Obviously, I'm still trying to learn how to do all this, but I had the sensor run or placed at the bottom, but not the deepest part of the pond. So it
Okay.
was placed somewhat in the middle, or not the middle, but by the edge of the pond, but 3 feet, 4 feet into the bottom of the
Okay.
initial bank, and it read at 68 degrees. Of course, there's about another 2 feet of water further down or deeper, and then about a foot of mud. And I'm believing, I think, from what the temperature data gave me, or the graph, 68 was the coldest, and the warmest was 74. And I can
That's
attest that it
great.
does stay warm. So if you get in the pond during the winter, which I did a video last year, it was like December 31st, and I was in the pond and it was warm. Like the parts of the mud that I stepped in were really like, wow, like there's heat here. There's I guess it's the decaying leaves,
Yeah.
the soil and all that. It was pretty toasty, and it's been like that since. We had a 38-degree night recently. All I ran was the well, and the water was warm to the touch. Of course, the warm to the touch for what we think is warm, maybe 70 degrees when it's 30 degrees outside or so forth. But
Yeah.
the turtles look none less for wear. They all look good. They obviously, I don't know if you've seen the videos, but I post videos like every other day of them, and they're doing their thing.
I've seen
So,
videos from your pond at night where just steam is coming off of it.
oh yeah,
So
yeah,
I
that
was
was yeah, that
wondering
was the
how
one that was
warm it
nice.
is.
Pretty warm compared to the outside temps, and and yes, and you can feel the temperature if you go outside on a cool day or a cold day, and the sun's hitting the pond, and you put your hand underneath the water plants. They do seem to hold some heat. Of course, once you start moving your hand further down to the water, it gets a little bit cooler, but the surface level, it's pretty warm, and then there's a temperature drop, and then it seems like it gets warmer at the very bottom as well.
Oh, that's really interesting. We have a 300-gallon above ground pond outside, and man, it'll go down to like 45, 50. It gets cold being above
Yeah,
ground,
yeah.
not having that insulation. So the fact that yours ranges between 68 and 74, like, that's amazing. That's with above ground, you can get crazy fluctuations where it's 95 in the summer or 50 in the winter.
Do you run any filter or well water on it or no?
We do have well water, but I haven't set that up because it's not a tub, it's a liner, but might
Gotcha.
think about putting an overflow or something in it. Because I don't think our well water's as warm as yours, but it's gotta be warmer than
That
what that
50
pond gets
degrees.
to.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I'm gonna have to come up
Um,
with something once the snake necks have
y
to go outside, so
yeah, because all my
I
stock
might pick your
tubs
brain.
all my stock tubs are above ground, but I do tarp them. If it gets below 50 or below 55, I tarp all the blue stock tanks, excuse
Mhm.
me, and then strap them down to hold the heat. And then, of course, the well water runs all night. There's been times, I think the year before was 28 or 29, but there was frost on the ground. And, I'll go and pull the cover and reach in and feel the water, and it's toasty. I'm thankful for the well. I'm thankful for this setup because I used to put water heaters in my stock tanks. When I first moved out here and we first started, keeping them outside,
Yeah.
like I didn't have a well water line ran or running towards the tub. So it was just water set up, standing water all day. with a heater, and of course heaters fail. So I had a heater fail where the light turned on, but the element did not work, and I
Oh,
lost a
so
Fly
it looked
River
like
one
it was
time.
working
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
wasn't.
and it
Oh, no.
wasn't. So now, the well is it gives me peace of mind, but I still go out there. I still go check. I still go to see, make sure no water line bursted or something came off and is, it's leaking or whatever. But I do tarp them and I do recommend the well just because it will keep them pretty toasty. Even if it's, 70 degrees is a lot better than 60, 50,
Yeah.
40. So if you can keep the water at
Yeah.
70, you're set.
All right. So I know with these guys, you'll actually go in and swim with them. And it looked like from some of the videos where, Anthony and Kevin were there that they'll just like swim right up to you.
There is 7 fly rivers in the pond. Out of the 7, there are 3 who are charismatic, annoying, um, that just won't leave you alone, and it's 1 female, the big female, and then 2 juveniles or semi subadults, and they'll swim right up to you, they'll prod you with their nose, and it's kinda scary because you don't know what their intentions are. They're swimming up to you, you feel their faces bumping up to your skin. The big female has this weird thing of about like, it's almost like she's trying to hump you or mount you, and I don't know if it's an aggressive or get out of my pond or what are you? I'm so
Yeah.
interested, but that's the scary part because you don't know if they're gonna bite, and, I'm sure the bite's not the worst thing in the world, and it might hurt, but you just can't tell what they're doing, and the water's murky, right? So all you know is that they're bumping into you and
Yeah.
they're
And
putting
you're
their
like, what are
face
you
right up to
doing
your
down there?
pants or yeah, yeah, they're putting their face right up to your leg or your thigh, and it's, a big pinch in between the legs, yeah, it's gonna make me jump out of the water, but they come up to you. You can push them away, you can, place them across the pond, and they'll come right back up to you. And it's basically the same turtles that you'll see in the videos where I go and maybe clean out the outtake or the overflow for the pond. They'll see me there and they'll just come up to see what I'm up to. The other day I got in to pull out some batagar that are housed with them, and I had to pull out the 3 nosy fly river turtles because I would not get anything done because they're just on me. And I love it because you see other videos of people swimming with them and they don't come up to you. They're swimming away from you. They're kind of scared of you.
Yeah.
These 3, you can I mean, throw 'em, push them hard or, take them out of the water, put them on one end, they'll find their way back to you, and they'll be up on you, and it's great if you know that they're not gonna bite, but the fact that I've
You
been there
never
and I've
know.
had to kind of push them off. Yeah, yeah, and I would hate to have someone come visit and go in through do the experience with me, and then they get bit, and then I'm like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know they were gonna bite you,"
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And they're not looking for food because I've only gone in there a few times with food in my hands. All the other times I get in there just to look for stuff and search. So it's not that they're coming up to me looking for food, but it's, I'm still trying to figure out what's that why are they
What
doing
that
that female
behavior is.
specifically
Yeah.
behavior is. Yeah, is it an aggressive, like get out of my area, get my territory? Or are they inquisitive? They're like, hey, this is something new. There's a big manatee in our a water cow in the pond, and we're just trying to figure out what he's all about. But it's fun and it's a little bit scary at the same time.
All right. So these guys, I wouldn't say they're necessarily easy to get, but it seems like they're fairly available if you're looking for one. I just, peeked on Morph Market and there was a couple of them for sale,
They're everywhere.
like 1,000 to 1,500, which is probably good because you don't want this animal to be an impulse buy just because of the sheer size. And even at that price point, and you've seen, you're still going to get people that are going to buy them because 'cause they're super cute and be like, "Oh, I'll figure it out," and just
Yeah.
not underestimate the sheer size of them as adults.
Exactly. Yeah, I got the group of animals from that gentleman in Oklahoma. I had another animal given to me out of California as well because same thing. Well, the owner, obviously the turtle outgrew its pond and the owner was moving and he was moving somewhere cold and he didn't want to do another pond. I mean, they're going to be the next somewhat sulcata, right? They're just, there's a bunch of them
Yeah.
coming in. I'm sure the CPP is going to have a ton of them down the line. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but in a few years, that's going to be a turtle where you've always wanted one. Well, we have 10-inch, 12-inch animals if you want to give them a home.
So get your
It's
ponds ready
again,
now, right?
yeah, yeah, get it up. Yeah, make sure you know what you got. I always, I hope that people have the space for them. I'm lucky enough to have some acreage, and I'm able to do some of the things I'm able to do because I live in a place where I can do it. The weather lends itself to making it happen, but I'm sure it's super hard for people that keep them up north. Even if they do have the space, I'm sure the money is crazy to,
Yeah.
the water or the light bill, the pumps, the
The
heaters,
filter, the
especially when
heater,
it's
yeah.
winter. Yeah, feel all that. Yeah. So definitely do your research. It's gonna get big. They're not for everyone.
And
I get it. They're cute. They're adorable when they're babies.
and they get big
Super
quick,
adorable.
right?
But they
So
do. I
don't
believe they
think
do
you
get big.
have
You feed them well and keep them warm. Yeah, I don't think you have 10-year plan for them. No, I believe like within 3 to 4 years they can get 10 inches, and then it becomes a big turtle, and maybe the charm is no longer there because they don't look so cute, being 10 inches. But they're definitely, what's the word? You got to have the right setup. You got to think about this in the long end. It's a turtle for it's an animal. You're the caretaker. You got to think that, hey, this thing's gonna live 30 plus years with you. I think Bronx Zoo has animals that are 50 plus years old, right?
yeah.
I'm gonna keep mine for as long as I can physically and mentally able to keep them and maintain them. Now, I do got to come up with some game plan at the end of the day that if my family does not wish to continue any of my legacy, then that they go or get distributed to people that I know can continue doing something with them and not just getting them and then reselling them or so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there anything
So
that we missed on captive care for them?
no, they're easy. They're pretty straightforward. I see a lot of people make a big deal about water hardness and temperatures and that they need certain pHs. We have naturally hard water here. I use well water. I don't use no special buffers. I don't do no special
No
limestone or
treatments or
calcium
yeah.
things. Nothing. I do see people worry about when they get these animals that are recently imported or from these dealers. They come with some film. They might have some kind of a. They seem to like have a shedding issue, or their skin looks a little bit like fuzzy, or they have some kind of. It's not fungal. I don't believe. It's just a. It's just like something that they get during being acclimated and stress, right? But people
Okay.
worry immediately that's a fungal issue, a fungal concern. I just tell people, keep them warm, add salt or sand in the water. The sand, I think, helps because the turtle will bury itself in the sand, and whatever little film or excess, whatever, I don't know what it is, what to call it. It's like a film that's on them, but it seems to happen when they're stressed. Well, anyways,
Okay.
the sand will help, abrasive and take it off, and they won't have all the little white dots that people automatically think fungal issues. They just stress for a
Right.
little bit. Just give them time to get their bearings, and then they'll eat. And they're pretty straightforward. Now, if they don't eat for you any of the options of the wafers, berries, fruit, bananas, all those typical things they'll eat, then there is something to be worried about. But they eat everything. I mean, they're not picky, and if they are picky, it's only because they've been fed something for whatever time, months or a year or so. But they'll take anything.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you so much for joining me today. For our listeners, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. If people have questions for you about fly rivers, where can they find you?
I'm always active on the Turtle or TTPG Turtle Forum or Facebook group,
Okay.
excuse me. And then as well, every
Okay.
now and then I'll share the same Fly River information on the Fly River forums on Facebook as well. And then I'm also on Instagram.
All right. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy. You have a great one.
Thank you for joining us for Turtle Tea with TTPG. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. We're brewing up new episodes twice a month, every first and third Monday. If you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, you can reach me at wendy@ttpg.org or find me on the TTPG group discussion on Facebook. For full show notes, transcripts, and info about our guests, visit turtletea.org. Until next time, Keep learning, listening, and loving those turtles.